Sana, warm welcome to Startup Grind.
Thank you for having me, Jens. Hi, everyone. I'm Sana. I work as a coach for startup founders and tech entrepreneurs, helping them to achieve their goals by providing guidance, support, and accountability. Sometimes entrepreneurs can get so busy with day-to-day operations that they can overlook important opportunities or areas that need improvement. That's where I come from. I help identify these blind spots and offer constructive feedback on how to address them. With my background in finance, negotiations, people management, I'm also able to provide valuable mentorship and expertise to those who may be lacking in these areas. That's why I work with top startup accelerators like Techstars, Startup Wise Guides, and as a mentor and coach. I really believe that by fostering a growth mindset, entrepreneurs can continually improve their skills and achieve their full potential.
Yeah, we met last autumn at Techstars in Stockholm.
Yeah.
We were actually mentoring the same, there were 12 startups who were part of the cohort, and we were actually mentoring the same waste to material startup.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you said, you work as a coach now for startups, and I guess you have a global audience.
Mm-hmm.
But you're normally based in.
I'm based in Poland. I live in Krakow, but actually, I always make jokes that I work everywhere, but I'm not in Poland. So yeah, I work with US startups, with Northern European startups, with Asian startups. So I'm like everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the. I think something, if the pandemic has taught us something, is that we can work with everyone around the world. And if you stretch your time zones a little bit, you can create great teams in many locations.
Absolutely. I just made my own schedule and I'm fine with that.
So today's event, Restructure for Growth, we're looking at sort of the three parts, because the first part being how to find a potential problem within your startup. And some people have been around for a few years and some are fairly new. But if you've been around for a few years, you've gone through the pandemic, you might have your team or something might have grown in a direction that you weren't really looking for. So the first is how to find a problem. The second one is how do you then take this investigation and create a plan to fix some things, and then the last stage is to create, communicate, and implement. So how to communicate. So if we start with sort of the investigation part, how do you get a clear picture of the current situation in a startup or in a company?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, if you want to get clear understanding of your company's current situation, there are a few things you can do. First, and easy one, I believe so. First, you can take deep dive into the company's financial statements to understand like what's going on, revenue, expenses, cash flow, profitability, and so on. This will help you identify potential financial issues. Then you could schedule one-on-one meetings with your team members to get their feedback on how things are going and ask them about their challenges, ideas for improvement, areas where they can feel the company is excelling. And another way is to understand how your business is performing is to look at your metrics, such as customer acquisition cost, lifetime value, churn rate, conversion rates, and so on. So you could also consider doing SWOT analysis to identify your company's strengths, weaknesses, potential opportunities, threats on the market, and so on. And it's important to keep up to date with industry trends and how they may impact your business, such as changes in customer behavior or emerging technologies and new market entrants too. When you combine these approaches, you can get a clear picture of your company's current situation and make informed decisions to make your business forward. to move your business forward.
Yeah, as you said, it's good to sit down with your team on one-on-one, because
Yeah.
you have team meetings, but some people might not really feel that they can say what needs to be said in a group meeting. So having one-to-one meetings and have some structured questions is great. And also, as you said, emerging technologies. We all heard about ChatGPT. Well, how would that affect you? So that's a very, there's things going on very quickly right now, which can be a threat, but also a tool. So,
Yeah.
Now, a few years back, I was working with a startup in Hong Kong, and we had some investor meetings, and the founder was using the term the unknown unknown, basically things that you didn't know anything about, but you didn't even know that you were supposed to. So what are, in your experience, the most critical hidden problems in a company or a startup?
Well, I've noticed a few common ones, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So firstly, it's poor team dynamics. It can be a big issue. When team members don't work well together, it can cause conflicts, lower productivity, and even result in people leaving the company. Another one is, it's often overlooked, it's technical debt. This refers to the cost of maintaining outdated software and infrastructure. It can be like a hidden problem for tech companies, as it can hold them back from innovating and competing on the market. And burnout. Burnout is also a significant problem in the tech industry, where it's fast-paced and high-pressure work environment can take a toll on employees and founders. So burnout can lead to decreased productivity, increased turnover, lower morale, and so on. So, lastly, maybe cyber attacks, a growing concern for tech companies. They handle sensitive data. So just a single cybersecurity breach can have severe financial and reputational consequences, making it crucial for companies to address this issue as soon as it's possible.
And now when you are going through your company, you're finding all of these things, you're having your team meetings and you're looking at the technical debt. What tools can you use to organize the findings so that you can, put them in right order and present them to the team?
I really like, as a bird's view for findings, for structuring, it's great to use mind maps. This is like a visual way to structure your ideas and data in visual format, so everyone will see the big picture. You can create mind maps using MindMaster, Miro, XMind, and so on. This allows you to see the relationships between different pieces of information. Then another option is project management tools like Asana, Trello, Monday, and so on. They especially helpful if you're working with a team and you need to collaborate on project. With these tools, you can organize your findings into actionable tasks and keep track on your progress, like when you work with them. And of course, there are documents management software like Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, and so on, so many of them. This can be incredibly useful for organizing your findings and related documents. You can create folders for each category of problem you're addressing, and store relevant documents such as reports, analysis, action plans, and so on in the appropriate folder. That way, everything is easy to find and you won't waste time searching for the information you need.
Yeah, I really like mind maps, because some of these tools gives you good structure. But if you created, I think it's called swim lanes in Trello. So like if you created some structure and then the problem comes that you didn't have a part for, like what do you do? Mind maps, you just make a new line from the start and then you branch out. So I think when taking notes or and then you take that a mind map into a structured tool where you can sort of give tasks and so on.
Yeah, that's right.
So now we looked at three things in regards to finding problems. So if we look at the sort of to create a plan, and of course we have to have a bit of a background before we create a plan, what type of growth is the most important?
Well, when it comes to growth, there's different types that can be important depending on first it's customer growth, revenue growth, and so on. Different types of growth, they can be crucial for companies at different stages of their development. And for example, for many tech companies, user growth is a critical metric for success, right? As it can lead to increased revenue, market share, brand recognition, and so on. On the other hand, revenue growth is often a key metric for tech companies that have already established user base and looking to scale their business. Meanwhile, market share growth is often a critical metric for tech companies that operate in highly competitive markets, and they're looking to establish themselves as leaders on this market. Then, additionally, some companies may also pursue product expansion, which involves developing and launching new products. This can be important strategy for companies that are looking to diversify their offerings and enter new markets. The most important type of growth for tech company will depend on variety of factors, and it's up to the founders and investors to determine which types of growth to prioritize based on situation and goals. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's important that you, as a founder or as a team, remember to go through all the different types of growth that you have and sort of then prioritize. And then how do you create a roadmap for growth when you know what you're going to go for?
Well, if you want to create this roadmap, there's several important steps. You should take first one and most important one, you need to define your goals. What exactly do you want to achieve with your business? Do you want to increase revenue or expand your customer base or develop new products or services? You cannot you don't have a capacity to do everything at once. So you need to choose your goal. This step will help you narrow down your focus, which is essential, and identify the strategies you need to pursue. Then you should do market research to understand where you're at, like your market and competition. This will help you to identify trends, customer needs, gaps in the market that you can take advantage of. It's important to analyze your data and identify metrics that will help you track your progress. These metrics might include revenue, customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value, churn rate, and so on. So based on your goals, market research and data analysis, you can develop a growth strategy. It outlined the specific tactics you will use to achieve your goals. This might involve increasing your marketing spend, developing new products, or expanding into new markets. Once you have this growth strategy in place, it's important to prioritize your initiatives based on their potential impact and feasibility. And finally, you should create a timeline and milestones that outline the key steps you need to take to achieve your goals. And this might include quarterly or annual milestones, and as well as specific timelines for key initiatives or projects. So by following these steps, you can create this roadmap for growth.
Yeah. And then that, of course, then helps you also keep track of the progress, because the roadmap in a sense is you have a starting point, but you can then come back to it during meetings and say, how are we doing on a quarterly basis and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There a long time, for a long time, we have had vision and mission statements. And sometimes they're, they've been around probably for the last 50, 60 years. The question is, are they outdated or are they still useful?
Well, I really believe that no, they are not. In fact, they're still very useful for companies and for startups especially. Vision and mission statements can help company establish a clear sense of direction and purpose. And they can also guide decision making, inspire employees, and communicate a company values. So, however, it's important to keep in mind that just having vision and mission, some sort of statements, isn't enough. So you need to make sure they are relevant, meaningful to your company's current goals and objectives. And it's critical to align them with your day-to-day operations and your culture to create a cohesive organizational identity. So yeah, vision and mission statements are still relevant and valuable as long as you use them effectively.
Yeah, there. I mean, when in doubt, go back and say, hey, where are we aiming for, and then so that also as a team member, that if you don't know and if you cannot get hold of your manager, then you know what direction to go. What are your thoughts in regards to KPIs?
Oh, okay. In my opinion, KPIs, they are pretty great for keeping tabs on specific business metrics. So like revenue growth, customer acquisition, or website traffic. However, there is a catch. KPIs only measure quantitative data. So this means they may not give a complete picture of company's overall performance. For example, business may be killing it in terms of revenue growth, but could still be struggling with employee retention or customer satisfaction. So another downside of KPIs is that they can sometimes encourage short-term thinking. Like people focus on hitting specific targets instead of making strategic decisions that will benefit the company in the long run. So this approach can make it tough for business to innovate, grow, and stay sustainable. So to get around these limitations, some companies have started using objectives and key results framework, OKRs, instead of or in addition to KPIs. OKRs let businesses set ambitious and time-bound objectives and then track the key results and show how you're doing. So I really like this. The cool thing about OKRs is that they help businesses set bigger, overreaching goals that match their vision and purpose. Plus, they encourage teams to work together and hold each other accountable. So everyone is working toward the same objective.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that, so yeah, Google OKRs and also another one, it's the North Star is another one of those terms, but it's hard, as you said, you measure something, but you actually building something that is supposed to be measured. So by measuring the wrong thing, you might not build the right thing. So that's at the same time, certain financial aspects of a company are very important to keep track of.
That's true.
Now, so you have the OKRs, so you have the KPIs, you have the vision and mission. What does it mean to align a team?
Aligning your team is all about ensuring that everyone in your team is working together toward the same goals, same objectives. This means that each team member knows exactly what they're responsible for, what's expected of them, and how their contributions fit into the bigger picture. Basically, to align your team, one of the key steps is to establish clear goals and objectives. This should be specific, measurable targets that everyone on the team understands and can work towards. Clear goals help your team focus on what's important, prioritize their work, and see how their efforts fit into the overall success of the team. And effective communication, it's a crucial element of aligning your team. It includes regular team meetings, one-on-ones, and progress updates. Good communication, it helps build trust among team members, and creating a culture of transparency and accountability. It's crucial. This means being open, honest about goals, progress, challenges, and so on. It also means holding team members accountable for their responsibilities and commitments. When everyone on the team is held at the same standard, it creates a sense of fairness and trust that strengthens the team ability to work together.
Yeah. And when we're on the subject of team, and we are talking about, we talked about the goals and all that. Now you have a team, but what if you're missing some people in your team? What are your recommendations then?
First things first, it's important to assess your current needs and figure out what roles and skills you need to fill, and why do you need them now. Then your budget. Can you afford to hire new team members? If you need someone with some specialized skills but can't afford a full-time employee, you might want to consider outsourcing certain tasks, or you'll need to discuss possible additional investment from your VCs, for example. It's achievable if you can explain why you need this and how additional people can impact your business. So, from my experience, one of the best ways to find new team members is through a personal and professional network. It's worth reaching out to colleagues, friends, and industry contacts to see if they know of anyone who might be a good fit for your team.
Yeah, and to be flexible in sort of this, because when you have a team member, you also, and when you get new team members, to also explain that even though your task might be, this, we would expect you to be flexible so you can also help out with that, not get stuck. Now, when we speak about teams, but then there is sometimes the lone founder. So if you have co-founders, founding team, then it's easier to talk together. But what do you do if you're alone as a founder? Who should you talk to?
Well, it can be challenging, but there are some things you can do to make this situation a bit easier. First of all, it can be helpful to find a mentor or coach who is experienced and can help you with some advice and feedback. You can also attend industry events, join online communities, and connect with others in your field to build relationships, potentially find partners or team members, and expand your network. If you need help with specific tasks, as I said before, you can try to find some outsourcing, freelancers, and so on. As a solo founder, you'll need to wear many hats and take on various responsibilities. So it's important to focus on building your skills in areas such as marketing, sales, and product development. And it's essential to take care of your mental health and stay motivated. You can find a supportive community like Startup Grind to connect with. But I believe this situation is temporary because you cannot stay solo founder. I mean, you can stay alone because you need to scale and grow your business.
Yeah, so find people to talk to, having a mentor, somebody you can bounce ideas. And yet again, back to what we said at the start of this event, we are global now, so you can probably find a mentor in a time zone plus or minus a few hours. Now, so we looked at how do we investigate a company. We talked about kind of how to prepare. And now comes the part when you are actually going to talk to your team. So how do you break hard news to a team?
Well, it's always challenging, but there is something that can make it easier for everyone. First of all, take some time to prepare what you want to say and think about the best timing and place to deliver the news. It's important to be clear and direct with delivering the news without using, overly technical language or sugarcoating it. It can also be helpful to provide some context to help the team understand why the news is happening. This can help them to process the news better and feel less blindsided. And you need to remember acknowledging that the news is difficult and showing empathy towards team members who may be struggling. It's crucial. After delivering the news, be available to answer questions and address concerns. So you need to encourage team members to reach out if they need to talk further. And don't forget to follow up with the team after some time to see how they are doing and if they have any further questions or concerns. This can help reinforce that you are there to support them through difficult times.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, we are people, and it's important to, as you said, to explain why things are happening. Apart from what you just said, are there any other common mistakes that you've seen when communicating change that you look out for?
Yeah, I've seen some common mistakes that they can make the process harder for everyone. So, for example, not being open and honest about the reasons behind the change or how it will affect the team. It can lead to distrust and resistance, and it really harm in the long term. Timing is also really important. If the news is delivered at the time when the team is already stressed or overwhelmed, it can cause further anxiety, negativity, and so on. And another mistake is failing to communicate the details of the change and what it means for the team, which can lead to confusion and misunderstandings. And also, it's important to make sure you're using the right communication channels and reaching out to all team members. Not doing so can result in a lack of awareness and engagement. And focusing too much on the negative can make it harder for the team. Basically, not addressing concerns or questions from team members can lead to resentment, resistance, and so on, and failing to show empathy. It's a big problem because for team members who are affected by the change, this can create a negative culture and lack of trust in leadership.
Yeah, and as you said, making sure that everybody gets the same message. And yet again, since we are talking about, teams in different time zones, which is a possibility, or it's something that we can work with. It's also, how do you, what kind of tools would you recommend so that the team gets the same message from you, the founder, and don't get a sort of the rumored version?
Mm-hmm. Well, basic tool is email, right? Sending like important message to your team via email. You can ensure that everyone receives the same information at the same time. But when you're composing your email, be sure to use a clear and concise subject line and include all relevant details in the body of the message. Then helpful tool is like regular team meetings. By meeting with your entire team on a regular basis, you can communicate important updates and ensure that everyone is on the same page. So virtual conferencing and so on. Then platforms like Slack, Microsoft Teams, Google Workspace, and so on, then you can use this to share information. I recommend using 2 different tools at once. Like, okay, you're holding virtual meeting, but then follow up email with recording of this meeting, because maybe not everyone paid attention and so on. So no matter which tool you use, it's important to communicate clearly and consistently. Encourage feedback and questions from your team to ensure that everyone is fully informed and aligned.
Yeah, and the same way as you take care to investigate the first part and then work out what you're going to do, it's also not to just rush into that meeting or the change, actually planning it out, as you said. So if you have the Teams meeting in Teams like we do, and then you do have the email already written out, so that first of all that you also can reflect back to that, but that immediately after it's sent out. So if somebody wasn't in the meeting. Yeah. Now, we talked about some of the problems, but how, when you do meet your criteria or your KPIs, your OKRs, how do you celebrate success?
Well, it's absolutely important to celebrate success, and it's important to recognize person or in a team achievements publicly. This could be during team meetings or company-wide announcements, and it's a great way to show your team that you appreciate their hard work. Another idea is to give rewards or incentives for achieving specific goals or milestones. Tangible rewards like bonuses, gifts, or paid time off can be a great way to motivate your team and show them that you value their contributions. Then you could also host team events like offsite retreats or social events to celebrate successes and build this sense of camaraderie. Sharing success stories and case studies with your team and stakeholders is another way to celebrate success. It's a great way to showcase your company's achievements. And finally, take the time to reflect on the success and what made it possible. Celebrate and learn from the successes and apply the learnings to future projects. This will help your team to improve and achieve even more in the future.
Yeah, it's as you said, recognizing people feel that they are, well, that they are seen.
Yeah.
You know, as your team grows, and also as you get layers and layers. You know, as we talked, you're a sole founder, but eventually you will have a pretty big company, and that you can recognize people, and also working with the people who are responsible for HR, etc., to make sure that you don't forget that. So, Sana, big thank you for participating in Startup Grind. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and look at, I'm going to bring up the chat so I can see if there are any questions.